Let's talk about local cultures. In the real world, there are huge cultural variations amongst humans. There's cultures, subcultures. Different parts of the city have a different culture from each other. Different cities have different cultures from each other. Different countries, of course, different areas. And it used to be a lot, well, not worse. There used to be even more cultural variations, getting to the tiniest types, even languages. Now, famously in Vampire, the vampires didn't used to travel much and were somewhat stuck in the past. So it makes no sense for there to be a cultural uniformity across cities of the kind that is portrayed in the World of Darkness. Why is the leader of every city called a prince? Well, they do say that it doesn't have to be called a prince and it might be under the leadership of a revolutionary so blah blah blah. But in practice, every single city except for a few ones, there's a prince. And there's primogens who represent the clans. Why? And I think it could be quite useful to, when your characters travel from one city to another, to actually have culture shock. The Camarilla is definitely not skilled at micromanaging. So, in reality, when you traveled from one city to another, a very rare occurrence in the past, you would find something completely different. Maybe they might pay lip service to the same traditions, but interpret them in different ways. Maybe the way that you say the hospitality that you must present yourself to the local ruler. Maybe there's very different ways of doing that. Maybe it's extremely easy to do a faux pas, and maybe you should actually ask around first, figure out the right way of approaching. Do you have to bring gifts, maybe? Just a little thing like that, and ones who arrive without gifts are looked down on or showed the door pretty quickly, or have to work tremendously to overcome that initial bad impression. And also the leadership. Don't call it a prince. Avoid that at any cost. There's a lot of languages, a lot of words in all languages for leaders: king, sultan, captain, Augustus, first among equal, emperor, advisor, patrician, patriarch, matriarch. All of these could be a title. And just by giving a different title and a slightly different political structure, you really give a flavor for the new place that you've just moved to. Wow, they do things differently here. I should learn, and it is useful for me to learn the details of what's going on here. Anyway, just an idea for adding a bit of local culture and a bit of local culture to your campaign. One place to start is you could look up traditions of hospitality or traditions of how different groups interacted with each other throughout history, and just copy one of them. Maybe the local leader expects people to kowtow to them and make a big display of obeisance, but maybe they're not actually very powerful, but the display is important. As I say, gift giving, another option, ritual exchange of blood, possibly. What if you could only go into a town if there's an exchange of blood between you and one of the leaders? Would you be willing to walk openly into the town, or would you try and sneak around more? A thought like that, more to make it modern. What if you just cold cash? Yep, you're welcome here. Here's the tax. Yep, pay it or move on. We don't care where it comes from. So yeah, I think this can really enrich the World of Darkness and maybe sort of make more jaded players more, what you call it, more aware that this might be, make it more realistic and players if the player already knows everything, then having their character having to learn the local rules of politeness also means that the player has some learning to do and can incarnate in their character, even though they might have read all the books. Anyway, thanks for listening.